Well, hello there, welcome to Season 1, Round 11 of my F1 2012 Career Mode. I am Lovespuds, and here is a quick rundown of a lap in Hungary.
On the approach into the last corner of the Hungaroring, in a qualifying lap, make sure you take a nice wide approach onto the start-finish straight. This is the longest straight on the circuit, a good chance to use DRS and the curves available. It's an overtaking opportunity as well. Down into turn 1, you've got the brake marker boards on the left-hand side, brake just after the 100-meter board into second gear. The track then opens up away from you, letting you get on the power nice and early as the track now plummets down the hill towards turn 2. Easy to lock up here though, down into second gear. Because of the nature of the track, you want to keep it to the left-hand side before this right corner at turn 3 that follows. You want to keep it full throttle there because the track now goes up the hill to this blind summit of turn 4. An awesome corner taken in 4th gear. Watch out for the exit curbs before turn 5. Slow it all down now and use a lot of the exit curbs again before the run up to the very tricky right-left chicane of turn 6 and 7. Don't use too much of the curbs there at slow speed, it will upset the balance of the car. Turn 8 now, keep it tighter here. You want to open up the corner of turn 9 and keep the speed before going around the left-hand kink of turn 10. Now you want to carry as much speed, minimum speed, through this corner of turn 11. Hang on in there, feel that G-force on your body. Now it goes downhill, 100-meter board again into second gear. Watch out for that exit curb though, don't take too much of that because you've got to get back to the right-hand side before trail braking nice and deep into the penultimate corner of turn 13. Open it up on the exit, use all of the pit lane entry as well if you can, and then into the last corner itself. Hug the inside, be patient, and then on the throttle as early as you dare, using all of the exit curb, and that's a lap of the Hungaroring.
So that's how you should do it, and this is how I done it. So we're starting a lap at the Hungaroring, and we are nowhere at the moment because everyone has all come out pretty much just after the rain, because it was a little bit of a wet qualifying session, but I sort of made it into Q3. And I believe it rained again after this, so this is practically my only chance I had. Bit of a screech of the tyres going down that weird little corner. It goes sort of downhill when you lose grip on occasion. Blind apex up here. Just about taking that okay. First sector time of 29.6. I don't know if that is good or bad at the minute because no one's set a time, so I have nothing to compare it to. Running wide on the entry to into that chicane, that probably cost me a few places. If not a few tenths or maybe a second or two. Sort of opening and closing the DRS sort of as much as I can, trying not to lose too much time. Second sector, we've done about 30 seconds on that, so it's 1 minute 0.5 now. As we come round to the final corner, going wide again on this, the penultimate corner, hairpin type thing. And this is the last corner coming round. So a few mistakes on that lap, probably cost me a few places. So this is going to be a 124.48.
You'll be starting in 10th on the grid, so a little below where we expected, but we're still in a good position for the race tomorrow.
Yeah, so only good enough for 10th. Those few mistakes on that lap cost me quite a chunk of time really. I could have been up there on the front row, second row maybe. Saved my tyres at least. But not that it mattered, of course, because this race is wet. Now, I completely forgot about that. It's a wet start. I tried to take the gamble to go on the wet tyres, and everyone else is on intermediate. So this isn't going to be one of my best starts ever. A hell of a lot of wheel spin off the line, taken by Webber, and Maldonado is coming up on my right as well. Getting very close. I think the audio might be a little bit out of sync. I'm not sure, but I'm getting involved. Engineer stating the obvious here that we don't need to use both dry compounds. Well, yeah, sure thing. It's a bit wet. Oh, there seems to be a bit of a crash behind me. I don't seem to have very much grip at the minute. I think my tyres need a little bit of warming up. The intermediate guys do have an advantage for this first part. I can't remember how well I do, but my objective is 8th. So all I need to do is meet that and my engineer will be happy. I mean, this is still pre-patch, so in the next race at Spa, it will be after the patch. So I don't quite know what the difference is, but there is a slight difference, but it's sort of offset by the fact that my car is getting better through the season. So I can't entirely tell at the moment I've started my second season, so I'll be able to make comparisons then. Because the second half of my season with Williams turned out to be quite good. But anyway, I don't know why I suddenly rambled on about that, because I have been making some overtaking moves, sliding past everyone somehow. I seem to have a little bit more grip in the straight line. It also helps that on the first lap the AI are slightly slower than they would be, but actually the AI have come into the pits presumably to change onto the wets, because that seems to be the tyre of choice at the moment, because it's working for me. I think everyone's actually coming in apart from me. And the rain is actually starting to ease off, so this could actually be interesting. If the AI have come into pit for wet tyres, and they're going to need to come into pit again for dries, whereas all I have to do is maybe go back to intermediates and then to dries, and the AI is going to have to do intermediates to dries, so that's going to be an extra stop for them. And considering I don't drive in the wets so well, as is often the case with this game, maybe it'll actually work out to my advantage, because I'm actually in the lead at the minute because of that. The AI's changed to the wet tyres. They'll probably catch up to me because I'm not the fastest in the wet. I don't think a lot of people are, the way this game handles. But yeah, what are you gonna do? Driving in the rain is a very dodgy task, that's for sure, especially on the higher difficulty levels, when the AI seems to like stick on the track like glue. But yeah, hey ho, as I say, what can you do? You can just about put up with it. There's a lot of sliding going on, I know. But well, yeah, as unfortunately that advantage of having the extra pit stop in hand is not going to come too much in handy if they can eat into the gap like they are. Making my selection for intermediate tyres nice and early, just so it registers nicely. Did manage to set the fastest lap though, the 1:39.6. That could very well be beaten by the next person across the line, considering that they have closed the gap by at least 2, 3, 4 seconds maybe. But while I'm out in front, there probably will be a few incidents like going wide like that and sort of spinning or sliding or whatever. Let's see what the gap is first before I talk about something else. It's about 10 seconds, hasn't changed very much, so... Oh, it's going to be a bit less now that I've done that. But yes, this weekend we had the Grand Prix of America, the first time that Formula 1 has been to Texas, and Lewis Hamilton has won the race. Not a bad feat at all, considering that I thought Vettel was going to whitewash it, because he was fastest in practice, all the practice sessions, fastest in qualifying. But when it came down to the race, Hamilton did have enough to catch up to Vettel, and with a little help from Mr. Narain Karthikeyan in the HRT, he managed to close the gap sufficiently on the later laps to enable a DRS pass on Vettel to give him the lead. And then once he was in the lead, he could control the pace, and then he was practically walking away with it by then. But I'm so glad he did eventually win, because it means the championship battle between Vettel and Alonso is properly on for the next race in Brazil this weekend on the 25th of November. Now Alonso really does have to win this race. He can finish third, but that's only if Vettel does not finish the race. He has to be third or higher to even have a chance. That's if Vettel doesn't finish. If Vettel ends up on the podium, then Alonso cannot win whatsoever, because the gap is 13 points and you will not be able to do that if you finish in fourth, because The points for 4th place, I believe, is 12, so that's not going to cut it. Alonso has to finish on the podium, but if Vettel is on the podium with him, then he definitely will not win the Drivers' Championship. Alonso really does need to win the next race, and Brazil being the way it is, it could rain. It's a much higher chance of rain than most of the circuits they've been to, or practically all the circuits they've been to since Japan. Japan can be a bit funny. It can rain like anything. It can rain like mad. It can be almost monsoon-like occasionally. But places like Singapore, Abu Dhabi, India, Korea. Well, Korea can be wet as well. All those ones, they don't, and Texas don't generally tend to be wet places, so that's definitely worked in the favour of Red Bull and everyone else, which means the Ferrari have been off the pace as they have been all season. But when it starts to rain, Alonso will have a real good chance here, so he will be hoping that the forecasts for the next race will be wet. That way he has a chance, and he'll also be hoping that Vettel's alternator problems will return, like when he was leading the way in Valencia earlier in the year and his car broke down, the alternator failed, just as Mark Webber's did in America just recently, or yesterday should I say. So Alonso will also be hoping for that one as well, because the Ferraris have been very reliable this season. I do think the McLarens could have been up there as well, fighting for the championship, if they weren't so unreliable this last half of the season. But that's their own fault, that's a shame. Well, some of it isn't their fault. Things break, that's what happens. They've had some rotten luck. But also on the other hand, Alonso could have wrapped up this championship by now if he wasn't taken out twice in the past races in Spa and the other place, which I can't remember at the minute. Also, conversely, Vettel could have won the championship by now if he'd won in Valencia. So there's so many things that happen in racing which meant, you know, if this had happened, if that had happened, as I have a moment here, I really need to switch to intermediates now. It just goes to prove that in racing anything can happen, and it usually does. But it should be interesting. I've been really impressed with Alonso's driving throughout the year. He is thoroughly deserving of a title, and so is Vettel in some respects. But you know, I'd love to see Alonso come through and take it, because to drive that well this year in a car that has been well off the pace is a mark of a good driver. If Alonso was in that Red Bull, he would be flying out in front, no problem. He would. I'd go in even so far to say is that he would probably have done a Vettel like he did last year, leading from the front, getting pole positions all over the place. Yeah, hopefully it'll be a really good race next time round, and hopefully it won't be like a Vettel whitewash. I would like to see a real good battle for that championship. It doesn't often come down to the wire in the F1 world, but this year it's a good year. It's an amazing start to the year with 7 different winners in 7 different races. Kimi Räikkönen getting his first win on his return. Red Bull's not being quite so dominant, even though they got like 4 races in a row with Vettel recently in Asia. But it has been a pretty good championship. I'm pleased with the way things are going, and it's more exciting for the fans to see a championship go down to the final round with a gap of 13 points. It's all an uphill struggle for Alonso. It is Vettel's to lose, but hopefully it will be a very, very good race. So what did happen in America for the rest of them? So yeah, as I say, Mark Webber, alternator failure. Felipe Massa having another good drive. If he could only do this at the start of the season, he might actually be in contention for the title for once. But Alonso is the #1 driver at Ferrari, there's no doubt about it. Ferrari tend to put all their eggs in one basket as I slide round the corner here. But that's how Ferrari have always worked. They've always had like a #1 driver and someone as backup. As I quickly look behind at, guess who? Alonso. Who is a second behind me, and Vettel, who is 3.8 seconds behind him as I go wide here, and that's not going to help my cause at all. Alonso slowing... No, that wasn't Alonso, that was Vettel. Alonso is right up behind me. I expect I'm going to slide here by the speed I'm coming in. Yeah, my back end tried to go out a little bit, I controlled it well enough. I can't believe I haven't gone into the pits yet, but whatever, man. At least my intermediates are selected and ready to go. I think I may be waiting for those lot to come into the pits. But as you can see, I'm really struggling now. I probably should be on the intermediates now. But yeah. Oh geez, there I go. I think Alonso sort of followed me off there. Yeah, what else has been happening in the American Grand Prix? The Saubers have fallen off the pace recently, and they had a disappointing Grand Prix as I go wide, and there goes Alonso. Finishing out the points again. Their constructors' hopes of getting into 5th place, overtaking Mercedes, have taken another dent by not finishing in the points. They've shown so much promise throughout the year, and to finish and to have this run of form at the end of the season, I suppose it would be a bit gutting, because they were really close to that 5th place, and it is still possible in Brazil. They're only about 10 points behind Mercedes or so. So, you know, you never know. I'd like to see Sauber move up a place. That would be pretty cool. Nico Hülkenberg as well. He didn't have the most fantastic race of his career, but it was a very good drive. I mean, you've got the top tier teams, top tier drivers, all racing close, wheel to wheel, and not making contact. You've got the midfield teams with the younger drivers making contact, not, you know, trying to copy what the big boys are doing, but end up crashing and taking each other out, like Perez and Grosjean, and all that. What happened in Abu Dhabi last time. But Nico Hülkenberg has proven that he can race wheel to wheel, definitely. And that's probably why he's been given a nice contract at Sauber. I mean, it's not much of a move. I mean, it's still a midfield team, and who knows, the car might actually be crap next year. I mean, I hope not. I'd like to see Nico do well, actually. Never really considered him much, but, you know, I've warmed to him. I think he's raced well this year. He's done really well against Di Resta in the teammate challenge. What would be a teammate challenge in this game. He's definitely held his own, and I think he could do really well in the future. If he got a top driver, the top team, he could probably be up there mixing it with the champions. And I should actually mention the Marussias as well, down the back markers. They done really well in qualifying to get ahead of the Caterhams, considering that the Marussia has no KERS system, and to out-qualify the Caterhams without a KERS system, I mean, that's some feat. I mean, obviously they fell back during the race because they couldn't keep up, especially not over race distance. As I try and look at the outside of Grosjean, that's never going to work, as you can see. But a very good effort from the Mauritius. Once they get KERS next year, I think that's going to be quite a tight battle down in the back marker teams for that all-important 10th place in the constructors. It's all about money in the positions for the constructors, and finishing 10th gives a lot of benefits that finishing 11th really wouldn't give. And I've spun out and damaged my wing as well. So this isn't very good.
Should be okay to stay out.
Sort of mixing wheels with a Sauber, maybe? Can't really tell who that is behind me. I need to look at the sector times. Surely it's Kobayashi. But I lost that place to Hamilton. Lost a lot of ground there from spinning off there. Yeah, it's definitely Kobayashi behind me. Oh, and who's that? It was a Frenchman. I think that was Grosjean. Looked like Grosjean. He had some sort of problem. Crashed out, a bit of debris on the track. Yeah, so I don't know what happens, but I think that's Grosjean out of the race, and we've been promoted up to 4th position. There's 20 cars racing, so we've had 4 retirements so far. Don't know who the other 3 are, but that's definitely Grosjean. I'm pretty sure I saw a French flag. Alonso still in the race, Hamilton's in 3rd. Can't quite remember who's in 2nd, but we are in 4th on lap 11 of 18. And it looks like the circuit is drying out slightly. Intermediates are the tyre to be on at the moment, even though some of the corners are a bit dodgy. Probably still a bit too wet at the moment, but this is definitely the tyre to be on at the minute, seeing as the track is wet and damp in places, and even wetter in some other places, but this seems to be working for us right at the moment. Until the dry line starts forming and the track drying up, we're going to stay on these tyres for a while.
Okay, it looks like the car ahead is
Bit of a bogey corner, that one.
running full revs, maximum power.
Having slight problems with that chicane. It's losing me quite a bit of time in the car ahead. But this, I'm glad the tyres picked up some temperature, or is at least now gripping a little bit better than it was when I first put them on.
You're coming up on a group of slow-moving cars. Try to pass them quickly.
Still locking up the tyres a little bit. I'm praying that it will dry out soon so that I can pick up some speed with the slick tyres. If I can get on the options. Oh no, I hope I chose the options for my next pit stop, but yeah, definitely an interesting race, this one. It is for me, because while I'm driving it I'm thinking all the time, is this gonna when am I going to come into the pits? When are they going to go into the pits? Am I going to spin out on the next corner? It requires a hell of a lot of concentration. You just got to be so careful going around some of these corners, because I can actually make up some time here, because I seem to be driving well enough to defend my position and sort of well enough to catch up, because Kobayashi has fallen back to 1.1 seconds ever since that spin I had at the chicane here. Just trying to take this a bit carefully, maybe a bit too carefully, because that was kind of slow, but I think that's maybe because of what happened earlier with spinning out and breaking apart on my front wing. I'm a bit more cautious than I would usually be, and of course that's going to cost me time. So it looks like Hamilton's come across a back marker there. I wouldn't think it was one of the
Really going for it. You've just put in the best lap of the race so far.
leaders. Massa's putting in the best lap, which is about a second faster than us so far. So that's a little bit worrying. And also looking at the map as well, Maldonado is not far behind. So it looks like he's going to be in the points as well. Vettel is a 133.9. As you can see, or actually I'm setting a personal best lap of a 134.4. Button's just set a 133.4, so I'm still about a second off the top runners, and that's Charles Peak ahead of us in the Marussia. Hopefully he won't get in our way too much. Shouldn't do, as we breeze past him up to the blind corner. But yes, the tyres definitely working a bit better now, finding their grip on a damp surface, as the intermediate tyres, that's what they should be used for. And it's getting closer and closer to the end of the race. Now comes the decision making process of should I be coming in for the slick tyres anytime soon? At the minute I'd say no, because these tyres are working really well for us. We're not spinning off just yet. But you know what this game's like, it will just switch off the grip whenever it wants to. But we just got to prepare for that moment. The sun is coming out from behind the clouds. You can see bits of blue sky, and it should be drying up the track nicely. Alonso goes slightly faster, 33.1. So there I go, selecting my tyres for the options for next pit stop. Because obviously now I'm thinking about stopping, because it's getting quite close to the end of the race. But I want to make sure I don't fall off the pace and end up crashing out or doing something stupid. That didn't go quite so well while I was checking my fuel. I think I may be starting to struggle a little bit on these tyres. I'm not entirely sure, because it does look like the track is drying out quite considerably. Oh yeah, I also didn't mention in my last video, HRT is up for sale, so if you've got a spare million lying around, you could probably buy the Formula 1 team. They may not be the best team in the world, but yeah, it's still a Formula 1 team. I don't know exactly how much they're selling for, but if it really is a few million, then I expect Hamilton could buy the team with the amount he's going to be earning next year. That would be funny, the Hamilton racing team. They wouldn't even need to change their logo. But that's not going to happen, obviously. That would be funny. That Hamilton can just buy off the team with what he's earning. It's a shame though that they're selling it off. Maybe they can get some more money to improve the car, but I very much doubt that's going to happen. I mean, all this selling and moving of headquarters in Spain to a new facility, it's all completely messed up the development of the car anyway. And for them to be at the back of the grid for the starters isn't really helpful at all. But hopefully they won't disappear from the grid. I would like to see a couple more teams actually on the grid, mix things up a little bit, makes things more interesting. I was just looking at some old records of races gone by. I went back to the 1989 season. There were actually nearly 50 drivers competing in that championship. Let me just have a look. So go back to the 89 season. How many teams were there? So no, don't want 2012. We know what's going on in 2012. 1989, the year I was born. And yeah, looking at the constructors, there were 20 different teams. 20. Compare that with today's number of 12 and the 10 teams in 2009. It's just mind-boggling. I never knew there were that many teams in like 89. 20 drivers. It's just mind-boggling. I wonder how Codemasters would have fared trying to do all that. About 47 drivers on circuit. Yeah, 47 people listed here in the driver standings for that year. Prost eventually winning the championship, 76 points to Senna's 60. But it's all changed, everything gets more expensive, everything gets more expensive, literally everything. Drivers, parts, cars, teams, marketing, everything. And now look, I'm struggling on these tyres, so this is a very awkward moment. Do I come in or don't I? Depends what the other guys do. Am I going to struggle to the end in 4th place, or am I going to come in and try it and risk it on the slick tyre? Kobayashi is making a move on the inside, but I'm on the inside of this corner. If I can just keep it in a straight line, pretty much. Just about managing to get past round to this final corner. With 2 laps to go, I'm having a fight with Kobayashi. We're both on intermediate tyres. Obviously, because he's AI, he's going to have the advantage. There's not a lot of choice in the matter for me. I've got to be very, very careful now. I am in maximum defence mode. There is no way I'm going to catch up to Hamilton now. I mean, because it looks pretty much now that the track is completely dry. But it doesn't look like anyone's going to come into the pits, so maybe I don't either. But to be honest, the other cars should be a bit slower. They should almost be my speed, sort of sliding around the place. But that's one of the many problems with the game. I mean, you know, you've just got to take it with a pinch of salt and get on with it. Now this section, Sector 2, is actually quite damp. So the tyres are actually working a little bit better. They're not perfect, because the track is constantly drying out, but this sector is a lot more suited to the intermediates than Sector 1, that's for sure. And if we move into Sector 3, look, there you go. I think the track is pretty much dry. There's a little bit of shine coming off the track, which would indicate that it's a slightly damp part of the track. But this bit seems to be quite dry, which is why I'm losing a lot of grip at the back end, and Kobayashi slides past into 4th place. Now I've just got to hold off Maldonado while simultaneously trying to make a move on Kobayashi into the first corner. But I'm in this slipstream and I'm going to make a move. This is the final lap and we got to do something now, otherwise he's going to run away with it. Ooh, crashed right into the back of him. I don't know what I was thinking there, but messed that up completely. Absolutely completely. I should have lost my front wing in that one, but that's how the game is. And now, because I have trouble getting around that corner, I'm going to lose a little bit of ground to Kobayashi. Let's see if I can try and do something, because this is the last lap and I don't really have much choice but to go wide here. I think I may have lost the battle for 4th. If I had been a bit smarter and got out the way instead of, well, not got out the way, but gone to the right or the left, I might have actually been able to take Kobayashi on the first corner. But now I've got to make sure Maldonado doesn't get past me, because you know, I've got to keep up my standings in the not the constructors. God, that was close, getting everyone's way. Now Maldonado's side by side as we come around these corners. Fernando Alonso has won the race, but what can we do here? Can we get past Maldonado? Yes, we can. Sort of out-accelerated him down to this corner. Luckily, we got that place back, and I need to finish ahead of Maldonado to have a good standing in the battle, the teammate challenge battle. It looks like we're going to do it, because he actually lost out to Schumacher as well. So we're going to hold on for 5th place. Maldonado's got past Schumacher again. Looks like he's going to come home in 6th, and I am really happy with that, because my objective, as you can see, was to finish 8th or above. So some good points there for the Williams team. Pretty much where they should be. 18 points for the team. Fernando Alonso has won, with Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton on the podium. Pretty much no change for the top 2. Lewis coming from 6th to 3rd. Kobayashi coming home in a nice 4th place for them. So Di Resta and Button behind Maldonado, and Verne and Rosberg completing the top 10. And Mark Webber actually got disqualified. I do not know why, but that's what happened to him. Hulkenberg, Grosjean, De La Rosa and Ricciardo, all of them did not finish. So that's quite an interesting race for the field. I've moved into 7th with 60 points, 10 behind Kobayashi and 3 points ahead of Raikkonen. Lewis Hamilton is still leading the championship with 196 points, followed closely behind by Alonso, who is 9 points behind on 187. And then the usual suspects down the back with Paul di Resta in 18th or so. So it's looking quite good. My objective for the year is to finish 10th, so it's looking very good. McLaren Mercedes leading the way with 319 points. Ferrari 215, and Williams are in 5th with 97, 222 points behind McLaren. We are 10 points or so, 11 points so ahead of Sauber. So we actually passed an objective for once, and all that remains for me to say is goodbye, and I'll see you next time for round 12 at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. I'll see you then.